Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment with our good friend and coach, John Opalewski. How are you today, John?
Hey Jim, I'm doing good. My day's better because we spent about 10 minutes
Just hanging
catching
out.
up beforehand, and it's always
Yeah.
good, man. I know it sounds like a broken record, but your friendship means a ton to me.
I hope if nothing else, this broken record speaks to other leaders how important friendship is because it
Yeah.
is. It is. I get on 5 or 10 minutes early, hoping you're going to be on 5 or 10 minutes early before the scheduled time. Just we have that luxury of just how's your day? How's everything? So I know that's not our topic for the day, but it's a good one. So to introduce us, to our topic for the day?
Yeah, Jim, we're at episode 172, which is
Yeah,
exciting. And the
yeah,
title is actually a question, why vision? It's
yeah,
January. And
yep,
I think many leaders, many pastors think about what's coming in the next year, and so
yeah.
I thought it would be great to talk about vision at the
Right
beginning
on.
of 2023. The way we look at vision, Jim, and there's differing opinions, but for me and our organization, the way we look at it is vision is about destination. It's
Yeah,
it's
yep,
about where you and the organization you lead are ultimately heading over a period
yeah,
of time. And because I like football and uh, I like to think about vision in terms of the end zone.
yeah,
It's the end zone.
yeah,
And it's interesting, Jim, when we talk to leaders about vision, we get a variety of reactions. And it's
yeah,
almost funny. Some leaders perk up, um,
yeah.
some clam up because they're uncomfortable. Others want to throw up
Right.
because the thought of the thought of having to exercise that muscle really is painful for
Yeah.
them. And
Mm.
I've had a few pastors, and maybe you have too, have said, can I just show up and preach every Sunday and call it good? And
Oh,
so vision can be intimidating because
yeah.
I believe it's a leadership muscle that often atrophies due
Mhm.
to a lack of use.
Yeah.
But I believe this, Jim, and I'd love to hear your thought on it. A clear, compelling, mouth-watering picture of the end zone,
Yeah.
it brings so many great qualities to a church or to a business. And
Yeah.
and because of that, it's worth developing that muscle again. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree completely. And you talk about those who salivate or get nauseated or whatever. I'm the salivator. I love vision because I think I'm a visual thinker. So
Mhm.
I imagine an accountant, and I don't know this because I'm not one, but thinks of vision. They think of more numbers. But I don't think of more numbers. I think of more of whatever the goal is that the vision's created
Yeah.
for. More souls, more ministry, more ability to be generous to others, going farther, going faster. So vision to me is it's a word that gets me excited. I those who would be not excited by it, I wonder what hurt them. That they're
Mm.
not, because we tried vision once and it didn't work or something like that.
Yes.
I can't dream here because it's not a safe place to dream. As soon as I get a dream, everybody gets out there. It's like somebody said pull and all the hillbillies start shooting. Like I can see that, but in a healthy environment, vision is important. And I think vision is important to a healthy environment. I think
Mm.
it's good. People are going to wonder where we're going, and good leaders are going to tell them where we're going.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
good. So I thought maybe it would be a good idea to talk about why vision matters so much,
yeah,
and why, if you're listening or watching today, we really want you to pause and take this in today and think about it seriously, because we believe it has the ability to uh, bring so much benefit to you and the
yeah,
organization God's called you to lead. So let
yeah,
me let's talk about three things, three reasons why vision matters. Here's the first one: is that it helps get your organization aligned.
yeah,
Michael Hyatt, who I follow and appreciate, he says this, that you can't get alignment without something to align to.
yeah,
And to me, vision is that something.
yeah,
It's an organization's North Star. Um, when the
Yeah,
pandemic hit in 2020 and we couldn't go anywhere, remember those few weeks, after the
I
pandemic where
do.
we just we could hardly go anywhere. Laura and I decided to work on a jigsaw puzzle. And that's not our normal thing,
Nice.
but we thought,
Yeah,
hey, we gotta keep ourselves entertained. And I remember you might appreciate this. It was a puzzle of the map of Michigan, Upper and Lower
okay.
Peninsula, but
Yeah.
it was called the Rocks of Michigan. It's it's this
Wow.
that's how bored we were. And,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so it took us a few weeks to get that thing figured out. But during
Uh,
that project, I mean, we were so thankful for the picture on the box
yeah.
of the completed puzzle.
Right.
Because when we found ourselves stuck, looking at that picture kind of unstuck us. It helped
Right.
us move forward. And I don't know that we could have completed that puzzle without
Right.
that picture, that visual being there for
Right.
us. And I think vision does that for organizations. It helps us put the pieces together.
Yeah.
It helps us to get unstuck when we feel like our organization is caught in a mud pit.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that first one, Jim? The alignments,
Oh
the
yeah.
alignment.
Yeah. Follow me and I will make you fishers of
Mm,
men, right? The vision begins with it. Let my people go. Hey, Israel, it's going to be okay. There's a promised land. He doesn't say come out of slavery. Leading somebody out of something it's hard. Leading somebody into something that coincidentally leads them out of something, I think, is much easier. So, uh,
mm,
we're going to change something. Well, why? Well, because I have a vision. There's a dream. It's compelling. I think a clear, and you've said this before, a clear, compelling vision is a necessity of the organization. We have to know where we're going, or we're all going to go in different directions, thinking we're doing the right thing. So,
right.
um, a budget is a drag, but a retirement is great because you had a budget. So the vision for retirement helps you
Yes.
not buy that $4 cup of coffee three times a day. It constrains us and it compels us. It tells us what not to do. It tells us what's important around here. So I agree completely. I think having that vision um, is valid, not just valid. I think without it we perish, and we don't
Yeah.
perish because we die. We perish because we waste, we neglect,
Mm,
we run in circles.
good.
If we succeeded, who would know? There's no goal line to cross to get 6 points. How would we
Right.
know if it's a touchdown without that vision?
Yeah, that's so good. Here's a second reason why we think
Yeah,
it matters is that it becomes this kind of filter almost
yeah,
for decision making.
yes,
Um, Jim, you and I know Carl Vaders. We've had him on the podcast. We did a
yeah.
conference with him here in Michigan back in
Great
October of
conference. Yeah,
2022. Great conference. And
yeah,
he told us this. He said most small churches, now his specialty is small churches. He
yeah,
said most small churches are too complicated.
yes,
And I would add that most churches are too complicated,
yes,
regardless of their size.
yeah,
And here's where vision helps us. It tells us where we're going to put our resources, our
yeah,
time, our energy, our dollars, and even as importantly, where we won't
yes.
put those things.
I agree.
Uh, Vision helps us understand who we're going to hire. It should be, in my book, vision should be one of the factors in your
Yeah,
hiring.
yeah,
I don't want anybody on our team who isn't bought in to us influencing 25,000 leaders by the
yeah,
end of 2025. I mean,
yeah,
if you don't buy into that, that doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just
yeah.
means you're not a good fit for our team. And
Right.
so I think vision helps with that. I think it
Yeah.
helps with what programs we start, what programs we stop.
Yes.
And in a church environment, in a church world where I believe most times there are too many choices, vision
Yeah.
helps us choose wisely. What do you think
Yes.
about that second one, Jim?
Yeah. Again, as a senior pastor, we do something here every year. We're just in the process of doing it now at the end of the year, and it's our language, so don't use this language. But it's we put every program, every ministry on trial for its life once a year. Whether we do this again or not is decided in this trial. So the money we spend, the people power that we put into it, the attention that it gets from the platform, and the fruit of it. We add it all up, and it's on trial for its life. And if we don't get rid of a good percentage, not 80%, but 5, 10% of what we're doing every year, if it doesn't require some sort of significant change or to get rid of it altogether, then what happens is now you half your programs don't really produce what you say you want to produce, and yet it receives money, it receives people, it receives attention,
Yeah.
it receives, so you say, I think it's better to say we do not have a men's ministry than to have a bad men's ministry. I think it's
Mm.
better to say, we worship differently here because the only musician we have has a banjo and a juice harp, and we don't. That's so we share testimonies for 15 minutes amongst each other, so that we worship the Lord through our own words of what God has done in our lives. We encourage each other in small groups. I think that's a more legitimate than saying we have worship, but you don't. It's a Sandy Patty record from 1978, and you're calling it worship. So I agree. I think something you said there, John, is so important. I want to bring it back out again. Vision not only tells us what we're going to do, it tells us what we're not going to do, and keeping that menu simple so that
Right.
we do. It's better to do a few things well than to do everything poorly, and
Right.
vision helps us with that.
We understand that it's so tempting to add.
Yeah,
If I add this, and that's not just with pastors, that's with business leaders.
sure it
you know,
is. Yeah,
if we just add this product, if we just add this, in the business world, we add this service, we add this product,
yeah,
that has the potential of allowing us to expand even more, and that can get out of control. I worked in the business world for 20 years, and
yeah,
I saw that firsthand. So yes, I think the second one is a really important reason why you should care about
yes,
vision. Let me give you one more,
yeah,
and then I would like to pivot and talk a little bit about how to help
yeah.
pastors start getting those creative juices flowing as it
Right on.
relates to
Great.
vision. So here's the third reason why I think you should care about it, and that is that vision has this amazing capacity to create energy and momentum.
Yes,
So let's use churches as an example. More than a few pastors have complained to both of us, Jim, that the church they lead doesn't have enough people stepping up to serve. I mean, have we heard that several hundred
yes.
times in the last couple of
Over
years?
over and over. Yeah,
Yes. And one of the first things on my mind, and I don't always say the first thing that is on my mind. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But the first thing I
yeah,
always want to say is, what's your vision for the church?
yeah.
Where are
Right.
you guys going? And if they answer vaguely, to me, it's not hard to figure out
Yeah,
why they have a
yeah,
people serving problem. And I know there's process along with that. And you and I have used the podcast to talk about um, why is greater than what, and
yeah,
how we release people into ministry instead of
yeah,
recruiting. And so you
yeah,
can listen to some of our older pods and find that one.
yeah.
But I do believe that vision is a piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
I think vision, if it's real, if it's God-sized, is a magnet, and it draws people to join your
Yeah.
team, to commit to the cause, to
Yes.
roll up their sleeves and work. I wonder what you think about that one.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking to our Josh Spurlock not
Yeah.
long ago. Was talking about the limbic synchronization, where your need and my need come together, and we connect in that way, and we feel a part of differently.
Yep.
I think vision. If we're just coming together to have lunch and have nothing to talk about, that doesn't happen. But if you and I both see a commercial with a dog in a cage, and just for $19 a month, you can, in the arms of the angels, right? And they're
Yes.
for the tears that goes down the dog's face, and you go, man, that we both we should do something about that. Well, I'll take 1 month, you take 1 month. All of a sudden, we're sponsoring a dog because we've agreed on a future that's different than the present. Something that is
Yes.
causing us pain has now moved us to action. And the same thing, there's a vision that can be painful, but there's also a vision that can be passionate. We're going to win this city for Jesus. You think of Martin Luther King standing up on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, was it 1963? And I have a dream. I
Mhm.
don't have a plan. I don't have a budget. I don't have a
Yep.
methodology. what I have is a compelling vision. And he got into his time machine and he came back and showed us a world that he envisioned where people were judged not by the
Mm.
color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, people said, I buy into that. He said it so convincingly that we believed him and began to
Yes.
move forward in the vision we didn't have before he said it as a nation. So I think that, and again, I know I'm using extreme examples because that was a wonderful moment in human history, but no, I don't know that he knew that he was that guy until his dreams came to pass, I guess, in his absence because he was
Yeah.
assassinated. But we're going to put a man on the moon. That's a compelling dream that Kennedy
Yep.
had in whatever year that was, right? So
Mm.
I believe this. I believe that people who hear from God and have a promise, if they have a promise, they need to articulate to people what that promise is. This is the promise that God has given to our organization.
Yeah.
The number of pastors, the growth, or one soul coming to Jesus is worth it all, right? So having that vision, it brings your best people out. And if you don't have a compelling vision, they will serve where there is one. I promise you.
Mm.
They will serve on their kids' little league team if there's a vision before serving in your church if you don't have one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Jim, that really kind of sets up the pivot point for the talk beautifully.
yeah,
You said that Martin Luther King stepped into the future and described something that didn't exist
yeah,
and did it in a way that made it feel real,
yeah,
exciting, achievable. And
yeah,
so, you know, you might be listening or watching and thinking, I don't even know where to start with this.
yeah.
So can I just share a few vision starters real quick?
Please
Um,
do.
and then Jim will wrap it up in a little bit. So here's the first one. Vision answers three questions. What problem are we trying to solve?
Hmm.
What will it look like if we succeed?
Yeah,
And why does solving that problem matter?
great.
And so um, I think the first question speaks to clarity. Like
Yeah,
what are we trying to do here? The second one taps into the imagination of people. What will it look like?
yeah,
If we do
yeah,
this, what will it look like? And then the third question, why does it matter, brings urgency uh,
yeah,
to the equation. So those three questions: get in your prayer closet,
yep,
seek the Lord, try to get an idea of, Lord, where do you want us to be in a couple of years organizationally? And then start
yeah,
asking yourself the questions. What problem are we trying to solve? What will it look like if we succeed? And why does this even matter? And you have the
yeah,
seeds of
yes,
a good, healthy, compelling vision.
yeah,
Um, a couple of thoughts
yeah,
here. I think sometimes when we're visioning and we're trying to develop that muscle, we start trying to think about how we're going to get this done. And
yes,
that impedes vision development. Put
yes,
that aside for a
yeah,
while and don't focus on how, focus on where.
yeah,
Where. And and you said Martin Luther King did this, and I would say this to every leader listening. Stand in the future. Use your
yes,
imagination.
beautiful.
Look, what do you want? What does it look like?
Yeah,
Write it down, let it stew for a bit,
yeah,
and then bring it back to your team for some feedback.
yes, yeah,
No, give me a little feedback on that. These are just a
yeah.
couple of vision starters.
This is something we call I have what I call how people and wow people. And
Mm,
when I'm still hashing out that vision about the future, and there's numbers or there's a change or there's this shift that I can see as possible that God wants to shift. I don't share that with my how people. I share that
mm.
with my wow people. I share
That's
it with
great.
fellow missionaries or visionaries, people that go, wow. And if we could do that, if we could build a skate park, if there was a place for the kids to come, we could build a gym where people gather regularly, or a coffee shop where people could, what's the watering hole that Jesus found the Samaritan woman at today? What's that look like? And we start
Yeah,
dreaming. But if there's a wow person in the room, they'll say, well, insurance on a skate park is really going to be expensive. And who's going to maintain it? Who's in charge of painting it? I just don't. And they start adding up numbers, and the wow, when it meets the how too soon, is destroyed. It's like stepping on an egg. It wasn't even a fair fight. So I want to
Sure.
share with my wow people and make it a dragon. And the how people now have to fight a dragon, not step on an egg of an idea.
That's so
So
good.
I think Joseph sharing his wow with his brothers was,
Yeah, he was a little early to the
yeah,
he was a little
yeah.
early. He
I
froze
mean,
up
I
for
mean
just a minute.
Mary ponders some things in her heart. That's better than taking out a full ad newspaper. The Messiah is on its way. Come talk to me. I'm getting birth to the Messiah. So
Yeah,
I,
so
it's
good.
there's a balance to it. But I would say this: I finding, and maybe this is where Converge comes in. I'm not trying to do this on purpose, but a neutral third party who has experience beyond my own that I can share my wow idea with and get honest feedback that I can ignore or I can accept. But it's up to me. It's not
Right.
it's not it's not a part of my organization. It's outside of my organization. I mean, how many times have you and I shared ideas about Freedom Center or about Converge with each other just to hear
Yeah.
thoughts and input? It's so helpful. So be careful not walking into your board meeting with an egg if your board is a bunch of how people, which somebody needs to be a how people. But man, don't walk into a room full of hows with your immature wow,
Yeah.
and you get expected to get a not now if
Yeah.
you do. So
That's so good. And I'm really glad you brought that up because timing matters. Some
it
visions,
does.
like you said, get crushed before there's
Yeah,
enough development to push back, right? And there's
yeah,
enough energy behind it to put, and I think sometimes leaders make mistakes by sharing vision too soon. And
yeah,
maybe that's why they're wanting to throw up when we talk about it, right? Because
yeah.
they had a bad experience with it. And and
Yes.
there is much more to developing and casting vision than these four idea
Oh
igniters, I'll
yeah.
call them,
Sure.
but they'll help you get started.
Yeah.
Listen, the church or the business you lead needs you as the leader to cast vision,
Yes.
to paint a compelling picture of an achievable future. It's your job as a leader. It's my job as the leader of Converge Coaching to help all of my team see the end zone. And we've had pastors ask us, how far out should we be looking? Which is a great question. I think the answer is it depends.
Sure. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
depends. I think this is very contextual. Most churches that we interact with today who are serious about vision are currently looking about 2 to 3 years ahead right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're going to have to figure out what time frame works for your particular situation. And Jim
Yeah.
mentioned it, if you find yourself not sure of where to start or feeling stuck in the process, we'd love to serve you. We have experts
Yeah.
in this area who can help you figure it out. And we don't have a horse in the race. We don't have a program that we feel affinity for. Um,
Yeah.
it's very objective help, and so we think it's so important that almost every year at the beginning of the year, in some way, shape, or form, Jim, we talk about the subject of vision. So we hope it encourages you
Yeah.
and maybe jumpstarts you this
Right
year.
on. And as we kind of come to the close of our time, I'd say this too. People are like, I don't want to make a vision because then I'm locked into this. But we need to think of the vision as our servant, not our master. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. Yep.
So if I have a 5 year vision, what percent, John, what percent of a 5 year vision actually comes to pass 5 years from now, exactly as it was worded 5 years ago in your estimate?
I'll let you know in 3 years when we get to the
Well,
end of 2025.
yeah. I mean, for me personally, maybe half. But the good
Mhm.
news is I would have never gotten that half without the vision 5 years ago
There you go.
that got me here. So it's my servant. I scheme and I dream and I share and I think and I pray and then I speak and then people join and then we move forward. And if a year from now we're heading in the wrong direction, we shift our direction.
That's
Not
right.
not 180 degrees, but 10 degrees, 15 degrees. So
Mhm.
I hope people can understand this is not a diet. This is not a budget. This is not the IRS is going to come arrest you if you don't do this. This is a wonderful thing to listen to a God who gave you the ability to envision a tomorrow that's different from today. You are the only thing he created that has this superpower of
Mm.
envisioning tomorrow as a different thing than today. You're not surviving, you're living. So taking that gift and giving it back to the Lord and saying, what do you want me to do with this gift of my imagination? Is a wonderful interaction between you and your Heavenly Father. So God bless you, our dear listeners. And we've already said it. If you want to get a hold of us, we'd love to have that conversation at convergecoach.com. And there's a contact us link. You press it and we'll schedule a half hour. And I say one of our team members, John, myself, one of the team members, whoever we feel can best help you, is going to
Yeah.
give you a call. We're going to spend half an hour listening and talking and sharing. And from there, if we can help you, we will. If we can't, we'll send you to someone who can. But we are cheering for you, and we're praying for you. We love you. And again, if you're hearing this the day that it drops, it's Tuesday, and you are still leading. So you're winning this thing. You're not quitting. You're succeeding. You're victorious through Christ. God bless you. Live long and prosper. That's what we're trying to say. So continue, keep going as you continue to lead from alignment.